Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our presentation on conflict management. So what is conflict management? In this presentation, we will be defining conflict management as the efforts taken to guide the parties that might be or are involved in conflict towards growth and successful resolution. Conflict management, sometimes known as conflict resolution, is a broad topic, and therefore we are going to be focusing on how a teacher can create a classroom environment in which conflict management can be a positive experience, in which the parties involved can grow and can come to a resolution. Something that came up repeatedly in our research is that efforts to manage conflict in a successful way often start long before the conflict even begins. Our first voice from the literature is an article written in the International Journal of Behavior Development, written by Yosafa M. Dacunha et al., called Socially Responsible Children, a link between school climate and aggression and victimization. This article argues that children's perceptions of social responsibility, which is defined as the perceived obligations for helping others and for cooperative behaviors as a member of a group, is fostered by school climate and teachers' use of social emotional skills strategies. Key relevant points in the article include that misbehaviors in schools are often attributed to behavioral problems or deficits in social skills on the part of the perpetrators or the victims of misbehavior. According to Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, the behavior of children is built from the outside in, and therefore, child behaviors are constructed both on the social level and on the individual level. As children make sense of their environment, including school climate and teacher relationships, it influences their character development. Therefore, it is the school context that shapes aggression and victimization through attention to social responsibility or lack thereof. Social responsibility is defined by the authors as a value orientation centered on care and justice, which is manifested in actions such as following rules for the good of the group, supporting others' well-being, and trusting others for help. In layman's terms, social responsibility is essentially the desire of a student to buy in to a healthy classroom environment and therefore care about the well-being of their peers. This article suggests that if a student feels this way, they will be more conscientious about how their actions impact those around them, and thus less likely to engage in aggressive behaviors that will lead to conflict. The conclusions that these researchers came to are quite unique in this text. In order to test the legitimacy of their hypothesis, the authors conducted a study in which they recruited participating schools to do a program designed to promote positive youth development and prevent peer victimization. Research findings were based on student questionnaires submitted after the duration of this program. Based on this, the researchers made the following conclusions. 1, that social responsibility and socio-emotional strategies were associated with less aggression, but not with victimization. However, stronger classroom support measures were associated with declines in reports of victimization by girls. Finally, they concluded that school climate and use of socio-emotional strategies by educators influenced peer aggression as well as behaviors of victimization. Furthermore, this effect was found to be mediated by increases in social responsibility.
Our second article is a deconstructive approach to class meetings, managing conflict and building learning communities by Maria Keskanetti, Kathleen Cavaney, Sheridan Gray, and Wendy Drury. This article views the negative result of conflict and disruptive behaviors in the classroom as a loss of time and energy for teachers and students that could be spent on learning and teaching. Thus, the goal is to create a classroom environment where more time and energy is spent learning and teaching. However, the cause of conflict, disruptions, and interruptions is seen as a relational issue within the group or community. Thus, teachers suggested the way to achieve the goal of learning is through building stronger student-to-student and teacher-to-student relationships. Stronger relationships require shared behavioral expectations of each other and shared beliefs that underlie those expectations, resulting in increased respect. This article suggests using circle conversations that incorporate deconstructive questioning, discourse theory, and narrative therapy to collaboratively, proactively, and reactively address conflicts and interruptions in the classroom. This is an alternative to the more traditional teacher-centered behavioral approaches to conflict and is a solution, not the solution. Teachers found that this strategy for managing conflict was effective, though hard-won, resulting in increased respect in relationships and more learning. As an aside, these three elements of deconstructive questions, discourse theory, and narrative therapy are vital to this version of circle conversations, and these get at the underlying beliefs or narratives of students and teachers regarding classroom expectations, learning, and teaching. So finally, to implement this type of circle conversations, teachers need specialized training in implementing these three components. To manage conflict effectively, this article suggests that three mindset changes for both students and teachers need to occur. First, that conflicts and interruptions are a product of the group's relationships, and the fault is not all on the individual or individuals involved. Second, the group needs to agree that restoration and resolution of the conflict are the community or the group's responsibility. So teachers and students must work together, and circle conversations create a collaborative space for that. Third, having a philosophy of working with instead of doing to when it comes to addressing conflict is especially necessary for teachers, so they can move away from a doling out of punishments and rescinding of privileges to a collaborative, community-based resolution process.
Based on our findings from two of the many voices that have spoken into this topic within education, we can understand that managing conflict goes beyond the need to effectively address and work through the conflict. It requires educators to foster the development of respectful relationships, whether that be a student-to-student relationship, a teacher-to-student relationship, or the nexus of relationships that the class as a whole is comprised of. Belonging plays a large role in decreasing cruelty and negativity and increasing community, both of which are essential when considering how to manage conflict in the classroom. As we step into a season that hopefully allows us to transition back into more normal schooling, this idea of creating a sense of belonging will be both crucial and challenging as students and teachers alike begin to relearn what it looks like to interact and learn with each other. While conflict was most certainly a topic of discussion pre-COVID, extra effort needs to be made now to learn how to manage it effectively and in a way that allows relationship to be the foundational element. In considering the main takeaways from each of the voices of literature discussed in this presentation, we have come up with three core elements that center on the importance of relationship and that we would encourage you to consider when deciding the methods and approaches you will take to address conflict in your future classrooms. They are successful structures, roles and responsibilities, and embracing empathy. Successful structures that support conflict management take into consideration the physical setup of learning and interaction, the design of effective dialogues, and the communication of intentionality and purpose. In terms of physical structures, the symbol of a circle has often been associated with notions of unity, healing, and power. And incorporating the shape in learning, as well as leaning into the unique opportunities it provides for speaking, listening, and sharing, is a beneficial tool for managing conflict. Our literature voices promoted the use of whole class circles to strengthen the classroom community and replace problematic relationship patterns with more respectful alternatives. Our group suggests that educators expand on and build on the use of whole class circles in your classroom by allowing processes and outcomes to be transferable between large group and small group settings, so that whenever there's work to be done together in the classroom, it is done in a circle. In terms of structuring student conversations in the classroom, educators should provide structure for students when engaging in dialogue, placing particular emphasis on the power of deconstruction, meaning topics and issues are broken down into smaller, separate parts in order to deepen understanding. Building off of this, teachers need to be intentional in creating opportunities for conversation that provide a space to pay more than just fleeting attention to others. Relationships can only deepen within the classroom community if students can grasp that their interactions with their peers serve a purpose.
I'm going to present some examples of these structures in practice. The first video demonstrates the use of verbal structures, specifically questions, and how it can impact the form and quality of discussions. You will see how the teacher's question is open in nature and challenges all students to formulate questions and to demonstrate reasoning. The teacher guides the students in learning how to continue discussions with their peers with prompts and modeling. The students develop an understanding of the role they have of responding to questions in this collaborative learning process, but also how they are responsible for continuing the conversation with peers. It is also a meaningful structure as the students reflect on how they interpret 2 quotes provided by the teacher. The physical structure is intentional, with the students' desks forming a circle. Let's take a look.
We'll start with the first quote. What was your conversation like with your partner? Austin, we'll start with you.
Like the first one's kind of like deeper than the other one. It's saying that's like coming from the heart, so it like affects, and it's like saying more than the other one.
Okay. Can you continue that conversation with your peers for me, Austin?
Does anyone have any other idea? Keegan?
I was thinking as in like your heart controls your body, so you can have words control you too. As in you can use so powerful words that it almost like controls your body. Like it can control someone else's like emotions.
Interesting.
Does anyone else have another thought? Maddie?
I agree with Keegan because the heart is very powerful, and just like words can describe anything powerful, and they can describe things in a more serious way that mean more to us.
Now I have a question. From what I'm hearing so far, I'm getting the sense that you feel this first quote has a positive view of language.
Yes.
I'm getting that sense from your conversations. Can we switch to the second quote? I want to hear your thoughts now on that second quote in relation to language. What is this person trying to tell us about language? Tyler, can you start our conversation?
How you talk, if it's corrupting it, it's kind of like stopping you from breathing. Because like then you can't really communicate with others.
Okay. Can you continue the
Does
conversation?
anybody else have
peers?
another thought? Juliet?
In the second quote, I was thinking that corrupts means like they stump you, so you can't use words in the language that you want to speak. So it's kind of hard for you to say what you want to say if it corrupts your mind. Does anybody have anything else? Lily?
As you've heard said throughout this presentation, students' perceptions of their own social responsibility play an important role in fostering a school climate that knows how to manage conflict respectfully. Teachers need to be proactive in articulating what teaching and learning look like in their classrooms so that students can have a firm understanding of the part that they play and the personal responsibility they have for themselves and others. This can be done by having students work together at the beginning of the school year to brainstorm, identify, and articulate specific values and behaviors that support both community and learning within the classroom. Additionally, teachers should put careful consideration into designing cooperative learning tasks that allow students to collaborate and develop positive social skills and attitudes. Along with learning how to work with others, cooperative tasks provide students with opportunities to both know and own the part they play, while also supporting an increased awareness of self in relation to others. When teachers use strategies that promote social-emotional learning in the classroom, they are contributing to the development of both their students as individuals and the health of the classroom community. Skills such as identifying and managing emotions, coping with stress, building relationships, thinking critically and creatively, and deepening one's sense of self are all important and have recently become sections of the updated health and physical education curriculum documents. However, teachers need to acknowledge that opportunities for students to engage on a personal level don't always happen naturally. Therefore, they need to be given frequent and explicit opportunities to engage with and build on these skills. In your classroom, this could look like regular incorporation of journaling activities and reflective tasks for both individual and group work opportunities. Then, in partnering social emotional regulation with the strategies and structures of conflict management, students' growing awareness of and connection to self and others can increase social responsibility and decrease conflict.
This next video displays all 3 structures in play: a physical circle, the verbal structure of the use of a talking piece, and cup of topics that you will see shortly. The meaningful structures are displayed in the check-ins and meaningful discussion of topics. You will also see the incorporation of socio-emotional development and the use of a meditation to begin the class's day. Let's watch.
Every day, I begin with mindfulness to really get the students focused and centered and ready for learning. I'm going to need you to either close your eyes or to look gently at the ground. The next thing I do in Circle is a check-in with a scale from 1 to 5. This allows me to assess whether or not they're ready to learn. Okay, I'm a 5, and I have a lot of things I need to get done today, but I'm looking forward to getting them done. Would anyone else like to share why you're a 5 today?
Today I'm a 5 because I can't wait for Spirit Week.
I'm a 1 because my head still hurts from Sunday.
In order to keep order in a circle, we use a talking piece, which is a symbolic piece to signify who has the floor, who's able to speak. At the beginning of the year, I asked the students what topics they feel as a class we need to discuss. The students write the topics and we place them in the cup. Our next topic is going to be about stop bullying. How can you stop bullying?
But I think since most bullies bully through pain, you can try to see if you can help or make them feel better. If you see someone getting bullied, stand up for that person and tell the bully firmly and strong to stop bullying.
Circles are also used to resolve conflicts that come up during the school day.
Sometimes at recess, Sydney and Imani would come over and just start talking about us and saying mean things about Janae.
In conclusion, the specific methods and strategies that you will use to manage conflict in your future classroom will need to be a reflection of and responsive to the strengths, needs, values, and context of your particular students. My peers and I can, however, say with confidence that no matter what the creative activities and approaches are that you choose to put into practice, they first and foremost should be rooted in relationship. Then, growing out of this foundation, you must take into consideration how you can prioritize structure, responsibility, and empathy to improve self-discipline and encourage positive relationships in your own unique classroom. This is hard work, but it's important work. And by making this investment, you will be able to foster understanding and social emotional awareness in the lives of your students and be confident in how to manage conflict in your future classrooms.